Blue Sky Bridge has incredible partnerships. We partner with all of the law enforcement agencies in Boulder County, with the Department of Human Services, with Boulder Community Health, with the school districts, with lots of other agencies and organizations. And one agency and one organization we work with very closely is the Boulder County District Attorney. So Michael Dougherty is here again. We invite him frequently because he is so important to our work and he has a lot to say. His perspective is really right on. Michael has extensive experience with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, with the Colorado Attorney General, as well as with the Denver District Attorney's Office before coming here as our elected district attorney. Michael.
Good to be with you tonight in support of Blue Sky Bridge, because they are an amazing organization making the difference that we need in the lives of our kids and our community. And to be at this beautiful house with all of you. Can you join me in giving our host, Andrew and Amy, another round of applause? So, as Gina referenced, before moving to the great state of Colorado, I had the privilege of working for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for 13 years, where I learned that the prosecutor's mission always has to be to do justice and to fight for victims, and to handle cases without fear and without favor, and to be willing to stand up to do what's right. And I can tell you, based on that experience, including serving as deputy chief of the sex crimes unit there, that we are incredibly fortunate here to have Blue Sky Bridge. And that what Blue Sky Bridge does for our kids here in Boulder County is truly exceptional. Because Boulder County is a special place, but we're not immune from child sex abuse and child abuse. We're the same as every other community in the United States and across the world. We have those things happening in our community far too often. But what's different about Boulder County, what's exceptional about Boulder County is Blue Sky Bridge. They are truly exceptional. And I consider myself very fortunate as a father and as a prosecutor to work in a community with Blue Sky Bridge. And I'll share with you that we strongly support Blue Sky Bridge because of its mission and its impact. And this, as a result, is one of, if not my favorite event every single year. Although I will just tell you really quickly, I went to this great event the other night. Part of my brain saying, don't tell this story, but I'm going to keep going. It was at a senior center, and I went to talk about common scams and frauds committed against seniors. And on the elevator ride up, the gentleman, John, who arranged for it, asked me, he's like, I'm going to ask you a question after this is over, and I'm from New York, and I just want a direct answer. I said, I'm from New York, and you're going to get a direct answer. So it finishes, and then he shows me this written contract that he's forced to sign now to remain in the senior center. And it requires him to promise to no longer talk to volunteers or staff about financial stuff, politics, and then it says sex. And I look at him, he goes, who doesn't talk about it? He's like, can you help me take on the senior center? I said, no. I said, no? I said, actually, definitely no. Like that, sorry. So this remains my favorite event of the year. I'll tell you a few quick examples of what the District Attorney's Office has been doing since we last met last year. We fought really hard this year to get rape shield protections expanded in the state of Colorado. It passed as a result of a bipartisan push and great work by our Chief Deputy DA, Christine Rinke, to make that happen. Thank you. Victims will no longer be shamed and embarrassed on the witness stand about things that should never be admitted in court. We also fought to expand indecent exposure in front of kids, which, believe it or not, used to be a misdemeanor. We helped with, that reaction's appropriate, by the way. We helped, along with our partners in law enforcement and treatment providers, to get that changed to a felony. And again, that was a bipartisan effort to strengthen the law, not just here in Boulder County, but throughout the state of Colorado. I do want to tell you about a trial that I just handled last month here in Boulder County, because I think it says a lot about where we came from and why this 25th anniversary is so important. So 25 years ago, 3 young women were sexually assaulted by their swim coach in Boulder swimming. And they actually made a report back then and nothing happened. Nothing. Until 24 years later, they had the courage and strength to come forward. And I think about now what would have happened if they came forward today, where we have law enforcement like Detective Cody Clark, who are trained to specialize in these kinds of cases, and prosecutors like Christine Rinke and her staff who specialize. But most importantly, Blue Sky Bridge. Because the world has changed for the better because of organizations like Blue Sky Bridge and the people who support it and work with Blue Sky Bridge, in part because of the forensic interviews that are now done. And for those of you who are unaware, forensic interviews are done by trained professionals at Blue Sky Bridge in a really comfortable setting for kids. And we're able to record those and then show them to the jury. And as a result, we have a really high conviction rate in cases involving sex assault on a child. That only happens because of your support of Blue Sky Bridge. So I'll give you a couple quick examples. We have a human trafficking case where we had victims in middle school being coerced into sexual acts through vaping products and marijuana. And these offenders were preying upon them. And because of Blue Sky Bridge, all 3 of those defendants are now charged and being vigorously prosecuted because Blue Sky Bridge did 16 forensic interviews in connection with that case. That case is only moving forward, and justice will only be done because of Gina and her team. It's really incredible the impact they have. We have another case where there was a 14-year-old girl who had been sexually assaulted. And once she was with Blue Sky Bridge, talking to them in the forensic interview, she opened up and shared that it was a cousin who had been sexually assaulting her for over 10 years. These stories go on, but this is not the setting to share these stories. But I share them with you so you have an understanding of what difference Blue Sky Bridge makes when they do these forensic interviews and they help us secure justice. Blue Sky Bridge has conducted, in 2023, 296 forensic interviews. So think about that number for a minute and ask yourself, what have any of us done 296 times in 1 year? Well, it's forensic interviews that Blue Sky Bridge is doing. 169 of those were kids who've been sexually assaulted. 41 of those were kids who've been physically assaulted. And the list goes on. And I could talk more about cases and our response, because our response has gotten much better over the years because of Blue Sky Bridge and others. But I also want to talk more about what Gina just talked about, which is prevention, because that's where we should continue to focus our energy. That's why Blue Sky Bridge started, and that's what Gina and her amazing team are dedicated to, and getting out in the schools and making a real difference for kids and trying to prevent these things from happening. And I feel so grateful to the staff of the District Attorney's Office who work so closely. In fact, I'm going to highlight one employee who's already trying to hide in the bushes, I'm sure, but Marcy Lieberman, for the work she does. She's very shy, but I will say Marcy and I, but you're truly spectacular. You really are. We had a thing at the courthouse this morning. It was related to cases we handle, and Marcy was there. And I said, are you going to be at Blue Sky Bridge tonight? And I hadn't seen her on the guest list, so I was actually wondering what happened. She's not on the guest list because she volunteers as their bartender, which is just incredible, and it's a testament to her dedication. But one of the things the staff did that was really great, they worked with Blue Sky Bridge to raise more awareness around the work that Blue Sky Bridge does. So you may have seen in April there was an article in the Daily Camera for Child Abuse Awareness Month. Because outside of you, there aren't enough people in Boulder County who know how much this takes place and what a difference Blue Sky Bridge makes in the face of it. So I really appreciate everyone being here, and I want to thank the amazing staff at Blue Sky Bridge for what they do. And I will say, as a father, I'm so grateful that they're there. Because my kids grew up knowing about Blue Sky Bridge and knowing about body safety. And when I tell them I'm coming here tonight, they don't ask me, what are you talking about or what are you doing? In fact, I asked my daughter, I said, what should I talk about? And she stands up, she's 16, and she's like, we need to end child abuse, use. I'm like, with the echo? She's like, with the echo to really sound like it's a... So they're at a different stage in their life where they're very vocal. But when they weren't so vocal, they were taught by Blue Sky Bridge how to stand up for themselves. And if you're like me and you look at your kids, you realize that we actually have a brighter future ahead. I recognize that the world seems crazy at times and that we're living through some difficult moments. But I look at the younger generation and I have such hope for the future. But we have an obligation to clear the path for them. So when it comes to mental health, social media, gun violence, fentanyl, but especially threats to them and their bodies, Blue Sky Bridge, which now provides therapy in English and Spanish, and medical treatment for people so kids know their bodies are okay, we should all stand united with Blue Sky Bridge. And I'll end with this. I read this a few months ago. It was about the Michelangelo statue of David and Goliath. And it's about David being shown before the battle, before the fight. And it's because that's when someone really says a lot about themselves. Are they willing to engage in the fight? You being here means you're willing to engage in the fight to end child abuse and sexual abuse in Boulder County. And I can't thank you enough, because if we clear the path for our kids, we have a better future ahead for this country. So thank you for standing with me and fighting for Blue Sky Bridge and to make a difference. Thank you.